Ina alhamdulillah, wassalam ala wa rasulullah. Welcome everybody, and I know many of you were here early waiting because you don't want to miss the second part of how to motivate yourself to reach those goals that you were supposed to work on all week. You know, the goals that you came up with last week. Oh, I had some weird ones. The goals, and I've been working on them too. I have been working on distancing myself. I sure have, distancing myself from getting too attached. So, alhamdulillah, guys, that's going to be tonight's discussion, the continuation of how you can motivate your brain to help you to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. And mashallah, Dr. Daniel Abdul Rahman has become one of the favorites here on the internet. So many of you are listening. We also have some professionals who are non-Muslims listening too. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Beal. I've received your emails saying how much you love this series. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. McBride, and we can see how to achieve those goals.
If it's as hard as so many trainers or coaches or people make it seem, and even if you talk to yourself that way, you've got to realize humanity is still here. We have, from our very first creation, if it was that hard, we wouldn't be here. Allah would not have created us. From a science perspective, if it was that hard, we wouldn't have formed societies. We wouldn't have come together. We wouldn't have been able to find any and achieve any joint goals or individual goals and coming together as a community and surviving. If it was that hard, we wouldn't be here. From a religious point of view, of course, Allah promised us, told us, described us, to us, that we have several quotes that I'm going to quickly state tonight. But let's start with the secular or the science part of it. The science tells us, especially today, in today's society, we can change anything that we want to, especially our minds. If there's one thing in the world that we can change, it's our minds, it's our brains, it's our thought patterns. We can go right back to, as I referenced earlier, we're going to talk about reviewing a couple things from last week. First, one of the first things I want to review is what we call, or what I call, Melillo's 3 Bs. Remember what they are. We've got brains, biases, which will influence our brains and which our brains can influence, and body, or the physical aspect. And we all know, and believe me, based on what you've hopefully learned from the other lectures that we've had about the whole frontal cortex and the 5 subcortical areas, I'll review those real quick tonight as part one of the science examples. The idea is your biases. How were you raised? What environment did you encounter? And what thought patterns did that develop in you? Hugely important. And we all have our stuff. The good thing for Muslims is we have a book, front to back, that your God, everyone's God, yours in particular, mine in particular, talks to us directly and in English. And inshallah, I will learn the Arabic so I can understand it even better. The idea is Allah tells us in the Quran, we have a book that tells us how to live our lives and how to get it done right. From a secular point of view, though, and that would help us with our brains and our biases, think about the brains. We talk about, well, in science, and it comes up in my feed all the time because I'm always looking about neurology, neurodivergency, ADHD, brain trauma. There's several doctors that I follow. Dr. Melillo is one of them. The research shows that we are constantly developing new neurons. Old ones die, new ones come to life, come into existence. They grow, not just poof in, but they grow in. We're constantly making new connections. Think about what's taking place. Today we're talking about something. Hopefully you learned something, which means you made a new connection. You had connect. And when I say you learn something, it's probably when we learn something, it's usually a connection with something that was already there. And then boop, new information came in, you tied it together and it made sense. But you've made a new connection. If we keep it real secular, you find a new restaurant. You learn about the restaurant, you learn the directions, you learn the menu, learn the favorite foods. All of those, real simplistically, are new connections. You've learned something new. So rather than just making it about food or a movie or stuff, make it intentional. Make it intentional. My kids will tell you that, and I might be very boring about it, but the idea is my two main topics are religion and the brain, neurology. That's where my focus is. There's a lot of movement and exercise and stuff I talk about also because that ties right into the neurology. But you have to remember, you make new connections all the time. So the brains, the biases, two big, huge things, two huge, huge concepts, your brains and your biases. You can change those if you intentionally, if you try hard. Like this sister was saying, she was trying to separate from some negativity. I would also actually say, and make an intention, make it a goal, and then figure out the reason why, your personal health and mental health. And then what action steps can you take to not just separate, but strengthen yourself so that when crazy stuff does enter into your life, you're a stronger person and you're better able to deal with it. Does that make sense? So that would be a goal, and figure out your action steps. And there we go. The other thing is also want to talk about is as a reminder, we've talked about it many times because I consider it hugely, hugely important, along with the 3 Bs, brains, biases, and body. And if you can change your mind, you can change your body. They go together hand in hand. The more active you are, the better your brains are. The more active you are, the better your body is. The more better. Okay, the Mo Better Blues, right? The movie. The more better your brain is, the better you will take care of your body, and vice versa. Now, the 5 subcortical areas of the frontal cortex are, we'll start with the motor and supplemental motor area. Movement is everything. Movement is everything. If you're not moving or you're planning on doing something, you close your eyes, you think about it, you think about moving. If you're looking at something, you have eye movement. Remember, that leads me right into the frontal eye field. If you want to focus on something, even when you close your eyes, you're looking at it. I'm pretending you're thinking about work. I'm thinking about walking through the backyard, whatever. You focus on it, and your eyes, and you're looking towards it. Even when you close and envision it, you're envisioning usually some sort of movement, whether you think about reading, walking, talking, whatever it is. Then you have your orbital frontal cortex. That has a huge influence on your emotional state. If you handle your emotions real well, then you've probably got a strong orbital frontal cortex. Then we also have the dorsal lateral, big term, dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex. This is your executive function. This is your planning. This is your organization. This is, you could think of inhibiting and initiating here. This is your appropriate behavior in society. Sometimes being angry and displeased is appropriate. But the level of your anger and displeasure is what you want to control, right? Fitting in with society. Joy, happiness, what you're going to display and how you're going to fit in for the betterment of you and the betterment of society. This is your executive function. Your dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex is huge. This is it, executive function. And then you also have the 5th area is what's called your anterior cingulate cortex. And right now there's a lot of stuff coming out about the front part, just that anterior medial or whatever they're talking about now. I think it's ventral medial, anterior ventral. And every time you do something you hate that's good for you, or every time you do something you hate, it's it strengthens that area. Well, the anterior cingulate cortex is hugely important for motivation. And then, of course, just a little bit left, and the picture, it might be, but left hemisphere, right hemisphere. This is your initiation. This is your inhibition. Ideally, and I know that's real general, ideally, these are balanced. And this is a very important part of the Melillo's Big Three or 3Bs. When they're in balance, for example, I'm setting a goal. That's the vision part of it. Remember, we talked about vision, purpose, and action. Or you could say goal, purpose, and action. I just love the word vision because it's so much more descriptive. There's more, it makes me feel like there's more emotion tied to it. But this is your vision, okay? This is the goal, the long-term goal. And as I gave you the example last week, Jenna is the way. And then we have the reason. I want to be with my family. I want to set an example. So with my family, my friends, myself, we're there with all the prophets and the Sahaba and inshallah, with all the best of creation. That's the big thing. Then you have your purpose. That's the why. Then we take the action steps. We've got Shahada. We've got Salah. We've got Hajj, if you can do it. We've got charity. We've got fasting. And we can do those yearly for what we're required to do, voluntarily, all these good things. We know how to achieve Jannah. And then the Quran tells us in detail, yes, no, rewards, punishments, and there it is. That's going to be, for me, that's the emotional motivation. And the emotions is the anterior cortex, with the right being my big picture and the left being my daily goals. So I've got Jannah, and then I've got the 5 pillars of Islam to achieve that, and all the details that are in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, from an Islamic perspective, let me just give you a few partial sentences. And Muslims, if you want to, and a lot of the non-Muslims will be aware of some of this also. But from a religious perspective, and I'll tell you in a few minutes what my four important areas are that I always goal set around. Okay, here's an Islamic statement. In Islam, Allah promises after hardship there is exactly. Number 2, Allah does not burden a person beyond their scope or what they can carry. And number 3, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you tie up your camel and then you rely on, yes, the qadr of Allah. So we've got Quranic quotes and Sunnah from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that ensure our success. We are told we will be successful if we do this, right? So that is a summary, and to remind you what we talked about last week, because normally this is 1 3-hour, usually at least a 3-hour presentation. And the lecture last week kind of should set up, and then we get emotional the second half of that, the first hour and a half, and the second half of that we pursue with all this joy and emotion. Hopefully y'all are feeling it like I am, because I couldn't wait for today. This is it. What you want to do is literally picture, for me, it's always picture Jannah in my head, and the goals we have to achieve, like I said, the 5 that we're given. And then, of course, all the voluntary stuff that we do, the extra prayer, the extra charity, the extra fasting, all these things that help ensure our achieving of heaven. If you don't believe in heaven, I'm fine with that. This is how I envision everything. And excuse me. Right behind that, then let's get right into, because I'm excited. Now, what we're going to do is talk about exactly what we need to do. So I'm going to recommend, if you don't have a pen and paper, get one. I prefer handwriting. I darn near write down everything. It's most of the research that's coming out right now, talking about typing, talking about learning, talking about getting things concrete in your head. Remember, I talked about motor action. Writing things is a whole lot motor. It ties in detailed motor control. It ties in a lot of your left brain, because now we're going to set up our actions. And first and foremost, writing down your goal while you're getting a pen and paper, right? If you have to, type it onto your phone. Writing down your goal is an action step. You are actually taking thoughts and creating your first action step. I know my 4 goals, and well, my notebook's over there. My 4 goals, everything revolves around faith, family, fitness, and finances. And today we're going to talk briefly about chunking, because when I say, what do you want? And you start thinking, maybe you want a better house, you want better kids, or you want to be a better person. Start there. Work on yourself first. And then that way you're role modeling for your family, whether you're the mother or the father, the husband or the wife, or even the kids. If you're young enough and you want to show the love and respect to your parents, be a better person for them. The idea is, my faith underscores, like most of us, my faith underscores everything. I want everything to be halal. And that's how I start. But this is what we call chunking. Those are the 4 big picture ideas. So what I want you to do is write down, like mine is very simple. Again, faith, family, fitness, and finances. Those are my 4. And it's, my 4 F's, right? So think about what you want to do, what's really important to you. You can make it real selfish too, and make it huge. You could even put family first, but then include finances with that. If you're a parent, if you're a spouse, you may want to make more money. Why not make a ton of money? Poor people can't donate. Rich people can, right? So make a ton of money. That way you can donate both your money and your time. That way you can provide for your families better. So if your goal is doubling your income this year, then right behind that vision, what's your purpose? Like I said, my finances come after my family. So my finances, the reason I want to make a lot of money, I would love to be able to solve all of my kids' problems, but I watch them struggle and go through some hardships. It's the idea, I'd like to donate more money. Everything that's, the genocide that's going on in the Middle East right now, what's taking place in East Africa still, all over the world, what's going on right here in the US with all the fires. I saw a neat little quote talking about the fire satellite map, the NASA fire. There was an exact phrase so that you can look it up. Did you know, for example, of course, it starts with what's going on with us right now. And they also mentioned, extended it out into climate change. At one point, they quoted that the entire country of Angola, 6% of the entire country is on fire. And they showed the fire map, and the fires literally all over the world. So imagine, finances could be hugely important. You may want to make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. You want to go after that stuff so that you can donate more to people in need, right behind taking care of your family, friends, and neighbors. Right? So I'm fine with you having a big financial goal. You should be fine. All of your goals today should be huge. If you knew, not just I say, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would be the goal you would want to achieve? When I talk about goals, you can have a lifetime goal. I want to have earned, you could be telling yourself, literally, I'm going to speak first person. This is you. I want to have earned $10 million in my lifetime. I want to have earned $100 million in my lifetime. I want to have, when I finally retire, I want to be at this income figure forever. My retirement plan at work, the business I grew from nothing into everything. I want to be able to stop working and have this much money to live off of the rest of my life. I want to have this much because just in case my kids need something, just in case I want to be able to donate more to the masjid, just because I want to donate more to the world at large. These are gigantic goals and you should have them. And they can even be real personal in the sense that a lot of people right now, and that's why I like doing this, picture you've got a body type goal. You could literally have, you want to lose an easy number, I mean, a round figure, say it's 50 pounds. And you say to yourself, oh my gosh, 50 pounds. I just can't do 50 pounds. I could ask you a question. What's the weight you want to lose? And you say, I want to lose 50 pounds. I say, all right, great. But I can't do it. I've tried before and I can't do it. Well, it's really important. Let's start with a vision. The vision is 50 pounds. What's the purpose? Let's make it a real purpose. Pretend you're a parent and you're exactly 50 pounds overweight. I mean, you are 50 pounds overweight. You should take this weight off. It makes you work harder. It makes you more fatigued. You can't move around with the kids as easily. What's the role model with that, right? You're setting yourself up for diabetes, heart disease, kidney issues, neuropathies, strokes, high blood pressure, lifetime, decreased function. You're just not going to be as good as you could be. Those are a lot of reasons, right? Now, if I say, and you tell me, what do you want to lose? You say the big 50, and I say, okay. The next thing is, and you've given me your purpose, your kids, you want to be there for grandchildren, you want to be more energetic to make more money. See how they all tie together? I say, okay, those are great reasons. Those are great reasons. Now, the next thing, what is your time frame? One of the first things you should do under your action steps is put down your time frame. How many days, weeks, months, even years? Because when we talk about Jannah, I'm for all of us, inshallah, whatever Allah deems is best for us. But I'm hoping that it's deemed that mine will be a long ways off. Imagine a short-term goal. Most people say, if I say, what is a short-term time frame for you? For me, I'm going to tell you a short-term goal is a year. I'm in my 60s now. I used to think a month was a long time. Now, a year is like tomorrow. But imagine if I said, okay, from now until next December, until next January, you have approximately 50 weeks left. My next question then is, when you set your action steps, I'm going to ask you, can you lose an average of one pound a week? I hope everybody says yes. Most of us, and there are some health concerns. I realize that. But most of us can lose a pound a week. And when you first start losing weight, when you're looking at something like a 50, pretend you're 50 pounds overweight, your first couple months, you're probably, inshallah, and everything you do right, because then we set up your other action steps. First thing is your time frame, though. How much time do we have? If you got 1 month, man, that's near impossibility, right? That'd be more than 10 pounds a week. But imagine you've got a year and it's only 1 pound a week. Once you get into your groove, after the first couple weeks, maybe even the first month, all of a sudden you notice you'll drop 5, 10, 15 pounds in that first couple months. Pretend it's 2 months out and you're down 15. That's only 8 weeks. So you're 7 pounds ahead of yourself. You see what I'm saying? And then towards the end, as you get into your 30s and 40s, when you've lost that much weight, that last 10 or 20 pounds is going to be hard. I know. So what you're going to do is literally go after 50 pounds in 1 year. 1 pound a week is an easy goal. It really, really is. And then you say 1 pound a week. That means, like, one of my goals is to lose just a couple. And I measure mine in terms of my body fat percentage. And I always look at the scale once a week, once every couple of weeks, just to see where I'm averaging. And any 1 week, I'll swing between 4 pounds, I guess it is 3 to 4 pounds. But the idea is that I use a body fat analyzer. I believe I ordered it and it was like $20, $30. It tells me my body fat, and most machines are within 3%. You're getting a percentage number, and most machines are within 3% plus or minus of the number they give you. So it also tells me, based on my height, my age, and my weight, and whether I'm male or female, what my body water percentage is also, whether I'm hydrated or not, which I really like the two of them together, because if you're dehydrated, you're not going to be burning a lot of body fat as energy. So literally, I'll measure, I've got a percentage. I want to lose 2 to 3% body fat, which means hopefully I'll probably lose a little. I want it in weight loss right now. And you take your measurements, and right now that's where I am. I'd like to lose 3% body fat. That's it. At over 190 pounds, that's 3 times 19. That's a little over 5, almost 6 pounds. So that's the goal. And then I've got my time frame, and then I've got my action steps. I increased my cardiovascular in short bursts. I'm not a jogger. Bilateral knee replacements, I didn't like running anyway. I'm a fast twitch guy. So I also made my aerobic conditioning part of, it fits my personality. I do short-term sprint work, and I use a Versa climber, or a mountain climb machine. And I've added a little bit more of that to my schedule. So you could do the same thing. I get up in the morning, I pray Fajr, and then I'll do repetitions on the Versa climber. Then I'll do some core work, because I've got issues in my back with disc issues, although I'm pain free, alhamdulillah. So these are all the things you take into consideration. Now, that's how we set up our action steps. So I want you to write down again. Let's go right back to your vision. What's your vision? And give me something in terms of, if you've got a body weight thing, well, I would also like you to include family time with that. If you have family and friends, it's really important that when my kids come home, if I'm working out right then, I'll ask who wants to join me. And that's what we've done our whole lives. So that's a non-issue for us, but that's what we do. And the kids see it's really possible, because as the parent, I'm role modeling that, isn't it? If it's a monetary thing, what is the purpose there? And now we're going to do, well, let's do your, if everyone has their 4, maybe 6 main goals that they want to achieve this year. Usually there's a body goal, there's a monetary goal, there's a relationship goal, family, friends, and it could be a self, how to make yourself a better person and a better fit for society and a benefit for yourself and others. Those are the big ones. And did I say financial also? So those are usually the ones. Those are the big chunks. Now what we're going to do is, let's take the body weight goal, for example, because if you're obese, think about how that'll fit into improving your family, right? You've got more energy to participate. You're also role modeling. You should invite family members to join you, invite friends to join you. If you're all alone, do it anyway. You probably have a job. If you're exercising, believe it or not, after the initial addition of exercise, you will find you have more energy. All the hormones that are released in your brain, you'll find you feel better about yourself. You'll be a happier person to be around. You'll go to your job. You'll be more productive. And think about how that overlaps with finances. Now you're being a better contribution. You're contributing. If you own your own business, you're able to do more. If you work for somebody else, you're able to do more. You might be able to get that promotion you haven't gotten yet. You might be able to get a bigger raise. you'll be more productive. And then, of course, with your faith, we're ordered to leave, and this helps us, 1/3 food, 1/3 fluid, and 1/3 air in our stomachs anyway. You'll be following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ even more. So you're going to exercise, whatever's safe, and we make that a whole nother lecture. Whatever's safe, you exercise. You eat more fruits and vegetables and protein. You don't need any bread. You don't need any rice. You don't need any noodles. So you're adding, right? And then you're also taking away. Get rid of the simple carbohydrates. You don't need any fruit juices. Don't drink orange juice. Don't drink apple juice. Don't drink any of that stuff. Drink water. And I'm not saying cold turkey on everything, but the idea is you know what you should be doing. More fruits, more vegetables, and more protein. Less bread, less rice, less noodles. And I know that's hard for a lot of us. Some of our cultures, it's like it'll be a cultural crime if you cut out bread, rice, or noodles, right? But the idea is you should ramp those down. When you're invited over to someone's house, eat all of that salad and ask for more salad. And the fruit dishes, if you get it before or after, is you thank you for all the fruit you gave me. Thank you for all this beautiful meat. Holy cow, I can't believe I don't have enough room for the rice. And then a little bit of exercise. You could change your status by just walking. If you work in a 2-story building, what do they say? Take the stairs. Exactly. Thank you. Walk around, get up, rather than calling a coworker or a couple cubicles or a couple offices or upstairs or downstairs. Rather than calling them, walk up there. I know if it's an emergency, make the phone call. I'm not saying run up the stairs. But the idea is walk around. For lunch, we're talking about fitness. We're talking here about financial. We're talking about improving yourself and your family, all with just fitness. For lunch, pack less. Pack fruit, vegetables, and protein, whatever it is. One of the things about my 3% body fat loss is I have eggs for breakfast every day when I'm working. And then typically when I'm not working, I skip breakfast to increase a little bit of fasting. Not so much intermittent fasting, but I usually don't eat breakfast. The idea is on my work days, though, or busy days where I have things I know I'm going to have scheduled, then what I'll do is I'll eat 1 egg. I'll have 3 strips of halal, 3 strips of halal bacon, and some kind of fruit, usually an avocado or chopped pineapple or a banana. I can even tell you yesterday was Wednesday. I was at work. That's exactly what I had. What am I going to have? And 1 cup of coffee, even though I don't like coffee, a lot of the research says it's good for you, and you can look that up and watch. And I put in a little chocolate flavored whole food powder, phenomenal company. We can make that another talk too, that I use to make sure I get all my vitamins, minerals, enzymes, because they pick the fruit so early to ship it all over the country and all over the world. So I make sure I get my powder with all my minerals, vitamins, enzymes. There's a little bit of protein in there. Also, it's not considered a protein powder though. That's what I had yesterday. That's what I'm going to have tomorrow. I know exactly what it is. And we'll talk about why you should know in a few minutes. So those are my action steps. So you've got your vision, 4 to 6 goals. Now your purpose for each one of those goals. And again, when you do your purpose with your spouse, with your loved one, if you look at this video again, this is hugely important. Make it a life-saving, children-saving, world-saving, change everything for the better purpose, or your whole reason for achieving this goal, and apply that purpose to each goal, whatever the purpose is for each goal. And they could be separate reasons too. They could be separate purposes, but you've got a vision. You want a life-changing vision. You want to achieve, even if you've got all of this stuff, you already own your house, debt-free, whatever the case, but you want to replace your wife's car because a happy wife, a happy life. Isn't that what we say over here in the West? You want to buy your wife a new car. That could be your year-end goal, which means you're going to have to start saving money. You're going to eat less junk food. That'll improve you fitness-wise and it'll improve your family. Pack your lunch instead of buying your lunch. I pack my lunch. And you know what I do every day at work? I actually take a health bar, a whole food health bar that I get from the same company I get my powder from. And that's what I have for lunch. It's hardly that square. That's what I have for lunch. I had one egg, three strips of halal bacon, and then I have my little bit of a fruit bowl, probably about like this, right? I know exactly what I have. And I have this for lunch. I drink water all day, and then I come home and I have dinner also. So you want to make that plan for success, and that's what we're doing now. Vision, life-changing, world-saving, family-changing, purpose. Now your action steps. And I've sprinkled those in through this whole thing. So think about, again, with your finances, because we've talked about fitness, we've talked about family. Let's talk about finances. You work for somebody else. Pretend every year you get a raise, or you work for yourself. And every year you should also want to give yourself a raise. Every year. So let's pretend, actually, whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else, you want to get a raise next year. Okay? Or even before the next year. But before next year and, not but, that's contradiction, and building on. And you want to do it this year, and you want to give it to yourself, you want to earn it from your company, whatever the case, or you just want to get a better job. What you're going to do is improve yourself, improve your knowledge. Work. What can you do at work? If you're hourly, you can put in more hours. If that's not possible, then what you want to do is what? Because you want this raise. I'm taking for granted you work at a company where you can get a raise or you can give yourself a raise. You're either going to put in more hours and or you're going to put in more and better effort. You're going to improve yourself and you're going to improve your output. Whether you think, and don't be distracted by saying, oh, I've got a lazy coworker, I've got lazy employees, I've got. Your goals do not apply to anyone else at your job except for you. These goals are for you personally, and then you're going to get together with your family after you get good at this and show your kids. But you've got to get good at it first, role model it for other people, then share with them the reasons for your success. So it's vision, purpose, now your action steps. You're trying to increase your finances. You want that car for your wife. You want your child to be able to do more school activities or anything, whatever the case is, whatever your purpose is. You want to improve your finances. Put in more time. Okay, you're doing that. Now you want to put in more effort and you want to improve yourself. Whatever it is you do for work, you want to own that. Everything, like right now, some of you, well, all of us, we're all on the internet right now, aren't we? Some of you are on YouTube. One of the things my younger son, he's an AC guy. He literally graduated. He decided at 6'5", he had college scholarship offers, broke my heart because I'm a book guy. He didn't want to go to college. Turned down all those offers for a free ride. Thought I was going to die. But he wanted to do this. So what he did his senior year, he only had 3 classes. He did well. He only had 3 classes left his whole senior year. So what he did was he asked for permission. I gave it to him, of course, and he signed up and I co-signed with the local community state college, the local college here. They have dual enrollment with a tech school in the next 10, 12 miles down the road. They had dual enrollment. So through the college, he could get high school and college credit, even though he wasn't going to use the college part, for learning how to become a heating and air conditioning guy. Certifications, all the certifications you can get, he got during his senior year in high school. So picture this. He literally graduates from the tech school with his college credits and his HVAC certifications, his OSHA stuff, his whatever certifications they are. I don't do that. I can't remember what they were. He graduates on Wednesday from the tech school's an HVAC guy. He graduates from high school with a high school degree on Friday, 2 days later. And he's been into his career now for 2 years. I didn't become a chiropractor until I was 35 years old. I literally was a school teacher for almost 10 years. I did the personal training with my certified conditioning, strength and conditioning specialist stuff from the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Boom, boom, boom. The firefighting. It's all of that. My son at 19 was already into his career. He's finishing up his second year and he's in his career. And we discussed some goals he has. And he told me what his a 10-year goal is. Okay. So one of the most important things he said, and he talks about improving himself all the time. One of the most important things he said was he can find stuff on YouTube about air conditioning and little secrets that people say they use, other HVAC guys use, like, oh, if it sounds like this, it's probably that. If it sounds like this, attach this testing device and diagnostic equipment. Then, oh, if you see this, then it's probably that. If it's this, that, and this, you also want to check this thing over here. So he's got all this stuff. He is constantly taking better to his boss because he wants to be there for a while. He wants to learn everything he can. And we talk about it all the time. I'm like, listen, you guys got 5-10 years of knowledge and experience. You better always ask them, and he does. You better always ask them every day how'd they figure that out? How'd they know that so quick? He talks about 2 of his coworkers that have been working for a while. He says they literally will walk up and go, oh, it's probably this, this, and this. Check that, that, and that. And I always ask him or remind him to ask them, how did you know that? Sometimes it's one of these things, you'll get it with experience. And other times, because it did this, because the meter said that, because this was happening and that wasn't. So even at your job, whatever it is, work on learning more about that job, whether your boss teaches it to you or not, whether your coworkers teach it to you or not. Learn it and improve yourself. That's an action step. What one thing can I learn today, tomorrow, or during this week and put into practice to be a better employee, to generate more revenue for my own personal business, for my boss's personal business, so that they see I'm a contributor and he or she will want to keep me and give me better benefits and more money. And then you take that money and you buy your husband or your wife a new car, the car they want, or whatever the case, a bigger, say you've got a large family and you need a van. You want to have a van next year, the year after. 2 years is a short-term goal for me, okay? 2 years is the short-term goal. So those are the things you want to do. So that's one of the action steps you can do is improve yourself with knowledge. And again, I fall right back to fitness. It's a shame, or maybe not. The idea is so many people are judged based on appearances. For me, it's not just appearance. It's literally my patients when they come to me as a chiropractor, functional neurologist. When I'm dealing with the neurological components, did you know that, I think I mentioned it the other day, obesity stimulates its own inflammation. So if you're overweight, you are literally going to be sore all over because you've got fat all over, right? You don't just store it in your head or your cheeks or the backs of your arms or legs, or, guys, we tend to have it around our middle. Women, triceps, legs, and hips, but it's a variety. You have system-wide inflammation, fibromyalgia. How does that word break down? Fibrous tissue, muscle tissue, and algia is pain. Fibromyalgia. Why does everything hurt? Inflammation could be it. And remember, hugely important for heart disease and stuff. Your blood vessels, like if you sprain your ankle, you see it goes this way. Blood vessels don't go this way. Blood vessels inflame this way. So now if your blood vessels are this big, right? Your blood vessels are this big. Imagine when they get inflamed, that's how much blood was going through. How hard is your heart working now to make it? How do you see? Can you see that? How hard is it now when the blood vessel is on? There we go. How hard is it now that your blood vessel went from this to this to this? How hard is your heart working? And then think about it. If your feet and hands get cold, what else? What other extremity do you have? Even more important than your feet and your hands? Your brain.